So welcome to our second NGFP Q&A session 2. This is what it looks like for the next 45 minutes. So we're going to hear a little bit about NGFP and the 2025 Fellowship. Then we are going to hear from the trustees of the Foundation for Democracy and Sustainable Development and the Legacy. We're going to hear a little bit about long-term governance and how this all weaves in together. Some insights are going to be shared from our fellows and judges, and then we'll open the floor to a Q&A to answer your questions. As this is quite a packed agenda, if we don't get a chance to answer your questions, or you don't get a chance to ask us your questions, you can please email us at the fellowship which is going to be popped in the chat box, and Katie and I will endeavour to answer those ASAP. So don't worry, if you don't have any time to ask a question or have your question answered, we will get to it following this conversation. So over to you, Katie.
Oh, thanks, Sarah. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Great. Welcome, everyone. So great to see so many people here. So I'm sure that everybody has read or heard a little bit already about SOIF, the School of International Futures, and our Next Generation Foresight Practitioner Initiative, NGFP. So I'll just share a few quick key headlines to make sure that we have a good amount of time for all of our fabulous speakers and for your questions. At NGFP, we are essentially a global futures-focused impact network, which exists to accelerate the transformation and change that is needed to make our world and that of future generations a fairer, more sustainable, diverse, peaceful, naturally abundant, more equitable place. And we believe that a key part of this transformation is being led by people like you, people on this call, emerging foresight practitioners, future alert activists, people using foresight and embodying a futures mindset to envision and shape better futures. And it's via our annual fellowship that we're really committing to supporting you in bringing your futures-focused projects to life, that in turn work towards making these transformative changes happen today. And the importance of NGFP is not just about helping the individuals, though it's important to note, it's about addressing systemic inequalities that mean that our network of people from all around the world with hopeful, remarkable ideas about what the future could be, and also the energy to make those futures happen, have access to decision makers and have the resources, the network, the training, they can build their confidence, all these things that are really needed and that these groups traditionally don't have. So it's really through this global network that we're aiming to address these issues at scale. Next slide, please, Sarah. And each year we welcome 25 projects and the individuals and teams behind them to become fellows, with another approximately 200 applicants into our wider network. And those 200 receive a sort of lighter touch version of engagement. But for the 25 fellows, we provide more focused support in that first year. So treating it a bit like an incubator or an accelerator, where people can experiment, make new connections, take part in foresight training. And we really encourage fellows and the wider network to sort of build your own adventure, I suppose. So offering collective spaces like our thematic hubs, our online WhatsApp community. We run bi-monthly learning sessions. We send you bi-weekly opportunities bulletins. So our role is to create the conditions for people and projects to flourish. I would say the main eligibility criteria here is relatively self-explanatory. Please do ask questions in the chat if you have any about this slide. But just one quick note on age limit, as this comes up a lot. So we're inviting anyone aged 18 to 35 to apply, with a few spaces in the cohort reserved for those under 25 to champion younger practitioners. And if you're over 35 and are wondering whether to apply, then we say yes, definitely, please do. But we ask that you make the judgment call as to whether you've been experimenting or working with foresight for a year or less, because this is to just ensure that the cohort begins from a similar level of experience. And finally, one very important update to this year's fellowship is the introduction of our new Democracy and Sustainable Development Foresight Transformation Mission area, which will be inviting 2 projects this year to represent this sector and be recognised via these fellowship spaces and sit alongside the other 6 mission areas that you can see there. And I'm so pleased that today we have Peter and John from the Foundation for Democracy and Sustainable Development and Kat Tully from SOIF to tell us a little bit more about the origin and legacy of this new fellowship. So it's my whistle-stop tour. I think I'll hand over to Peter, John and Kat. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you very much indeed, Katie. I think I'm going to start off for the Foundation for Democracy and Sustainable Development, and a warm hello to everybody who's participating now, and very glad to have this opportunity to talk a little bit about FDSD, its background and its future with SOIF. First of all, just a very, very quick background in terms of the historical origins. FDSD used to be the Environment Foundation. This was what it was from 1983 to 2009, bringing together policymakers, decision takers, corporate leaders, civil society leaders to think about how to protect the environment. During that, the mission broadened to include all aspects of sustainable development. And indeed, the Environment Foundation had to fight a battle, a really long and difficult battle with the Charity Commission to get them to recognize sustainable development as a charitable objective and something we could legitimately spend charitable funds on. So that was quite a milestone in those days. But part of our learning, and that was the point about the organization, we hoped it was always a learning organization, was the understanding that the way we were working was working in, I suppose broadly, the self-criticism would be a technocratic way. We were coming up with what we thought policymakers, the decision takers and leaders needed to do. But the question was, could this move forward? Could this really secure what we need for future generations unless we're bringing people along with us in very general ways, democratic publics? Can we bring them with us? And we made a decision that there was a lot of work going on in the ways that we've been working for many years, but not enough on the link between democracy and sustainable development. And our emphasis is on that word "and." It's the connectors between the two. And it's the two-way relationship between democracy and sustainable development. Our profound belief is that sustainable development, future generations' interests can only be secured if democracy is working towards that. And likewise, democracy will only succeed and survive if sustainable development and the fate of future generations is properly supported. So it's the interrelationship between the two that matters. We carried on a few major projects in our first few years from 2009 when we became the Foundation for Democracy and Sustainable Development. One, for instance, was the future of democracy in the face of climate change. How can democracies react creatively to this huge threat? What goes wrong when they don't? And also, how will the future of the climate emergency start to impact upon the way that democracies work? We worked with a huge collaborative range of organizations and created a manifesto for democracy and sustainable development, looking at the way in which all sorts of different activities could feed into this. But at the heart of it all is the desire to create a sense of engagement through the political processes, but bringing the people along with you, raising consciousness, raising concern, raising consideration for future generations through constitutional means, through party political means, through much more general forms of engagement and participation. It's, if you like, the idea was to try and create a broader Overton window whereby decision takers, politicians could plan better, use foresight better to guarantee a better future, or at least try and defend some possibilities of that better future developing. And our job was to create that greater sense of engagement and hope for the future, to lead people throughout democracies to think about the future in more creative ways. So that's the very general background. And we were engaged in a number of projects, for instance, and I know SOIF has been very closely allied to this as well, the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act in Wales. And this is the point to hand on to Peter Davis, our chair of FDSD, who was very closely involved in that and many other initiatives. Over to Peter.
Thank you, John, and yeah, thanks everybody for joining on this and expressing your interest in this fellowship. Yeah, I got involved with the foundation because I was involved in developing the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act in Wales. This was between 2011 and 2016 when it became an act. And I looked to the foundation for support, guidance, help and advice in developing that legislation, which is now 10 years old. And that legislation was designed, and I'm sure many of you will be aware of it, was designed to try and make that connection that John has been talking about between the democratic processes and sustainable development. The devolution in the UK to Welsh government back in 1999 included a requirement in the Government of Wales Act for the government to have a duty to deliver sustainable development. And that duty really framed the thinking of the new devolved government. And over the first 10 years or so of its existence, we learned a lot in terms of what needed to be done and what went wrong and what didn't work. And that led us to putting in place the plan for the legislation, the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act, that was designed really to make that connection, to ensure that we had long-term thinking built into the democratic process, and that the short-term cycles of the electoral process were set in a longer term context of the well-being of future generations. So I turned to the foundation at that point for help, advice and guidance, and benefited a lot. And the legislation benefited a lot from the expertise and the networks that the foundation represented. At the end of that process, I became a trustee, and having been a trustee for a little while, I took over as chair from Professor Graham Smith. And I do want to particularly give a shout out to Graham, because Graham, as chair and in his role, he brought a lot of thinking to the work of the foundation, and I certainly want to point you to his published work, in particular, Can Democracy Safeguard the Future? I'm sure you'll also be pointed towards our website and the work that trustees, in particular one of our colleagues, Andrea, did in putting together the framing of the challenge that we have in front of us in terms of that linkage between the democratic process and long-term thinking and sustainable development for future generations. And I think that that challenge section on the website well sums up the sort of the areas of focus that we need to work on and that we need to develop further, and that we hope as part of our legacy from the foundation, that this fellowship can take that thinking forward and really embed it in the work of the School for International Futures, and also create create some new leadership in terms of the fellows who are engaged in taking this particular work forward, and inspire others in terms of the work that you will be involved in. So that's a sort of a little bit of an insight in terms of the background to my role and to the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act, and also a sense of why we want now to take the next step by embedding this work in the work of School for International Futures.
And perhaps that's the right point at which I come in and say huge thanks to you, John and Peter, representing FDSD. And more, I wanted to say three things. And first of all, just really say the NGFP community is the thing I'm most proud of all the work that we do across the School of International Futures. It's the fact that on this call of 60 people, I've just counted the countries. There's at least people from about 25 different countries from all different continents. And this potential in where we are to hold foresight to create transformation in our communities and governments and sectors today is, I think, what unifies all of us. So thank you for your interest, and in particular for your interest in this very, very special new fellowship, which I'm incredibly proud and honoured that FDSD has chosen for us to be the kind of beneficiary of, as they begin to sunset their amazing knowledge from the past 35 years on this topic, that we can be the vehicle for taking this forward. And it's important, I think, for two reasons, really, because it's integral part of field and movement building. The work that FDSD has done over the past 30 years was about, before anybody else did, and I should probably say I was a trustee between 2010 and 2019, and the work that you did, that I was already just benefiting from the legacy of that in my role as trustee. You were doing network weaving, you were building community, you were enabling the early adopters that were feeling so lonely in their different communities and countries to come together to share learning. You were saying the fact that this isn't just about technical skills, this is about political leadership, and it's about getting citizens involved. It's about bringing together people around a manifesto, and ultimately it is about people power and power brokering to a better future. So that has been such an integral part of how SWAF itself approaches what we do. I just wanted to pay tribute to that. And so it's really, really important that we have these series of fellowships in the organization's name. The second thing I wanted to really point out is that one of the key values that we hold dear is the importance of intergenerational exchange. NGFP itself is absolutely a part of that, where we see intergenerational exchange between NGFP fellows, Sensing Network, judges, mentors, going in all different directions. And this, I think, is a form of an intergenerational exchange between organizations, which I think is really beautiful in itself. And is, I think, a theme that we are going to be exploring in our retreat and for the rest of the year, where we're seeing a whole series of legacy holders, of older people in the Foresight space who have got so much experience, and we're actively designing spaces to enable knowledge sharing and then experience connecting across the community, and then people sharing that back with everybody there. So at this point, I will probably just hand back to Sarah, because I didn't have the bandwidth to read the WhatsApp that she's just sent me. Oops, about what I'm supposed to be doing next. So back to you, Sarah. And let me just say, thank you so much for everybody for making the time, and welcome to the community in some way or another.
Thank you so much, Kat. I just wanted to thread our worlds together and the work of NGFP and the work of SWAF and the Foresight Transformation Missions. And I just really wanted to invite Deanna or Claudette from our long-term governance team to just give an overview of long-term governance of the work, just to weave in some more attributes to this. So I don't know who's going to do it, Deanna or Claudette?
Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you so much, Sarah. Claudette is here, and we come from the one of the SWAF practice areas called the Long-Term Governance Program. And it's really the effort of the organization to come together and activate around the UN Declaration on Future Generations. And we do that by trying to support early adopters and champions at the national level, to take forward long-term governance initiatives, and to support sort of political championing in countries, to really, transform governance systems for the long term. We also do a lot of advocacy at the UN level and at different kind of multilateral milestones across the year, from the G20 to the G7 to COP to various other summits. We really try to just keep the momentum and the interest and the urgency alive that came out of the Summit of the Future last year and the Declaration on Future Generations. So we're very excited that this will be a new area for the NGFP Fellowship, and that we can also, bring in the knowledge and expertise of the fellows as we try to do throughout our work. Thank you so much. If there's any other questions, I'm very happy to answer them in the chat, but we're really happy to be here and excited to welcome all of you to the community.
Thank you so much, Deanna. That was amazing. And now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Nutara, Nancy, and Inara. Nutara and Nancy are judges for the NGFP network, and judges are an integral part of the NGFP Fellowship. Not only do they decide who to put through to the fellowship, but they also act as mentors, partners, advocates, cheerleaders, the incredible support. So it's really important that we hear judges' voices, but equally delighted to hear Inara's voice, who's the 2024 fellow. And Inara is here to share insights around her personal fellowship journey, from application to where it is now. So I would like to kindly invite Nutara to share your insights. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Sarah, and so great to see so many friends and familiar faces on this call as well. I will say, I think the NGFP network is so exciting because it gives us an opportunity as sort of somewhat jaded people in this space sometimes to really connect with new energy, new ideas. It's a real source. What SWAF has built has been a real source of innovation in the space, which I think is a real niche, and we're really excited as judges to engage in that. So very quickly, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, a couple quick tips and tricks with regards to how you approach your application. Firstly, we will know if you use ChatGPT. I promise you we have a great radar for this, so please be original. Secondly, originality is a big thing. So it's about creativity and innovation and how you're originalizing, either in the sense of like your personal context, or it's a new idea, or it's creative. So I think originality is part of it, but also practicality. Is this practically feasible? I think thinking of NGFP, the opportunity as what Katie said of an incubator, it's really a space where you can bring your ideas to life. So you might have a great idea, but is it something that would benefit from this program? Specificity. The more specific you are, the more I can actually visualize how this kind of idea would pan out, the more effective it's going to be in sticking with someone's mind and being feasible as an idea. Sustainability. Is this a one-shot thing, a kind of flash in the pan, or is this itself a long-term idea, an idea that can grow, an idea that can scale, that can teach other people? Sustainability is also a factor. And then I think the most important thing for me whenever I'm looking at applications is, do I have an understanding when I finish reading your application of who you are as a futures thinker? That I think is so important, because in the end, beyond the idea, beyond the project, beyond whether it's something you're already doing that you are showcasing through this, whether it's a new idea you would like to incubate through this is about who you are as an individual joining this community. Are you an interesting person, an energizing person? Are you someone who has creative ideas, will really make the most of the platform that you're being provided through the NGFP space? Are you going to be a mover and shaker in this field? Are you going to bring a certain amount of expertise to the community? So I think, yes, showcase your idea, showcase the thing that you're doing, the expertise that you have, but also tell us who you are as a person and who you'd like to be as a person coming off the back of this fellowship. I think that is the most exciting thing about the community that is being built here. I'll maybe stop there, but just say that open door for any questions you might have throughout the process. And I think whether or not you become a fellow, this is a great community to be a part of. So please do stay engaged. I very much enjoy being a part of it myself.
Thank you so much, Nutara. It's wonderful to hear you speak like that. So thank you. I'm now going to hand over to Nancy Donovan.
Oh, thanks so much, Sarah, for coordinating all of this. I'm a co-founder of the public sector Foresight Network and live in Washington, D.C. today, Philadelphia. And I wanted to welcome everyone on the call to this session. And it's so impressive, the number of people that are on the call, as Kat described, from various countries, various continents. The School of International Futures has created an incredible program that is so significant of the number of individuals mentored and its impact in new knowledge. Nudhara has just done a really inspirational and incredible job laying out what to look for, what really pops out in an application. And I have a couple of other comments that are complementary to what she said. And when you do your applications, first, really look at the questions that you're being asked by the School of International Futures. This holds for both the written and the video portion of your applications. Just go back and track and go back again and make sure you have them addressed. It's really, I've reviewed like close to 100 applications since I started as a judge in 2022. And some applications will just have wonderful content, many, but they don't answer all the questions, or they do a sketchy job on some of the questions. So just be very attentive to that. Second, and this emphasizes what Nudhara said, specificity is key. I mean, provide concrete examples in your applications. Show that you have a really good knowledge of the area in which you're submitting a proposal. This lays the basis, from my point of view as a judge, for a truly memorable proposal. Don't, in the past, I think I've seen some proposals that seem that they copied and pasted standard language from the Foresight literature, environmental scanning scenarios. The judges can figure that out. So you want to be able to show that you know that area and that you have experience in that area and bring something new to the Foresight area. Also, one thing that I think is really critical in anything I've ever worked on in my career, have another person look at what you've done. I mean, look at what have them look at how you've tracked the questions that you've been asked in the application process, the quality of your written communication, the quality of your oral communication through the video. You might want to get someone that knows a lot about the particular area or track that you're submitting in, someone else that you know is just a really good cold reader and editor. And I think that's really going to enhance the quality and the caliber of your applications. One thing that I've noted over the last few years is that some of the applicants will do an incredible job in their video submissions of laying out their objectives and how they intend to approach what they have laid out in their proposal. So the very process of sort of talking that through, I think, can be used to enhance the caliber and the quality of the proposal. And I also try to think about sort of crosswalking and tracking both the video and the written proposal to make sure that you're communicating as clearly as possible. So those are some tips that I have from the last few years, and I'm very happy to be helpful in any way and to answer any questions. Thank you, Sarah, for the invitation, and to Kat as well for mounting such an impressive program.
Thank you so much, Nancy. And I'd now like to invite Inara to share your journey so far in the fellowship.
Hi, everyone. I definitely echo what has been said by Nancy and Nudhara. As someone who did the application, I can say it was extensive. It did take me a bit of time, but it gave me a chance to really have clarity on what I set out to achieve. And looking back now, it also enabled me to reflect now on how much the landscape of my research question has evolved in the last 6 to 12 months as well. During the application process, I actually connected with past fellows, both in my country and with fellows who had similar projects or interests to me, to kind of understand the types of people that were doing the fellowship, as well as how I could develop my application more. So I found that really useful. I guess to where I am today, I'm in the fellowship. It's been good so far. It's been amazing. It's really great to be in a multidisciplinary community of people who are like-minded in their vision. and to have access to mentors and develop meaningful connections and partnerships. Personally, for me, I'm from a sector which I don't really, that doesn't really talk about foresight and futures openly. So I was lucky enough to be connected with initiatives in the broader SWAF ecosystem. So that really helped, that's really helped me in kind of testing my project, being a part of a community of practice within the network. So there are a lot of opportunities for you. So I definitely recommend that you apply, that you take your time with doing the application, and that you develop the clarity that you want in getting the most out of the program.
Thank you so much, Anara. So now we have 10 minutes to answer your questions, and we have amazing people that can answer them for you, not just Katie, but we have Claudette, Diana, John, Peter, Kat, Nancy, Nutara, and Inara. So please take this opportunity to ask the questions that are burning, and get them answered by some amazing voices. I would invite you to either put some questions in the chat or put your hand up and let us hear your voice. So Jibwe, I see your hand is up. Please unmute and ask away.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Chiwe from Zambia. My question is, I managed to go through all the process, but on the scenario-based section, I am unable to submit it. I have saved it and I have clicked mark as complete, but it's not being completed. So I was asking for guidance on the way.
Oh, that's an easy one. What you can do is if you send a screenshot to fellowship@email, which is dropped in the chat box right now, we can talk to our tech team and sort that out immediately for you, Chebwe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. My question quickly is to Peter and John. Just thinking about, like, I was just reading I'll take some more time to read the page, but just thinking about what the FDSD, what excites the FDSD about the future of democracy. What kind of projects would really make you happy? Are they like national projects, subnational projects, or like continental projects? Just trying to figure out the scope of what you guys have in mind.
Yeah, no, thanks. I'm more than happy to pick that up, and John might want to. I'm sure will want to add as well. I think from this is a personal response. I'm always interested in the practical, and I'm always interested in how that's applied at a local level, whether that be national or subnational, because I think it's those illustrations that can change the world by demonstrating practical action. We're a small country here in Wales. We've only got 3 million people, but we've had a lot of interest generated by what we've done in the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. And I think it's that sort of thinking that we'd want to probably see more of. John, I'm not sure if you're in that same space or not.
I absolutely, completely endorse that. It's the demonstration effect. It's where you can show how something can work that can be adapted, that can lead on to a sort of spread across boundaries, whether they're cultural, social, national, professional, whatever. So the demonstration effect is absolutely core to it, I'm sure. Thank you, Peter. And thank you, Ebenezer, for that very interesting point.
We haven't said this, but it's worth us just reiterating the fact that although FDSD is winding down as a separate entity, John and myself and others who've been involved in the network will be very much committed to continuing to support and connect with this process as you take it forward.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Bosco, if you'd like to ask your question.
Yes, my question is on the region. Where on the application there's 2 regions mentioned. That's Balkans and MENA. So I was asking on the clarity of the other regions in the world. Are they also eligible?
I'm sorry, your audio isn't working too much for me. I think I heard something around Balkans and MENA, but eligibility, but I don't. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Yeah, I'm
Can I
asking
come in
what
here?
about the other
Pat.
regions?
Yeah,
What?
if it's helpful, I can just share a little bit more about why we have a specific regional fellowship for the Balkans and for MENA, and answer your big question, which is we absolutely want everybody from around the world to apply. So that is, you are very welcome wherever you are in the world to apply. We have, I think now 1,200 people from 100 different nationalities as part of this community. So welcome from whatever nationality. The reason why we have two specific regional events, fellowships, is one is the Balkans in honor of one of our team members, Sophie Middlemiss, who sadly passed away, and we set it up in her honor. And then the Middle East one is one that was set up by Dubai Futures Forum because we had very few applicants from the Middle East and we wanted to specifically encourage and welcome people from the Middle East to apply. But absolutely, let me underline, and the NGFP Africa network has got, I think, about 450 people in it, led by Passy. I'm not sure if she's on the call, but it's one of the most dynamic and energetic networks. So very much all invited to join and apply.
Thank you. Isa, you've got your hand up. Isa, are you talking? Could you unmute?
You mean me?
Oh, no, dropped off. Zainab, you have your hand up. Can you please?
Oh, okay, thank you. So I wanted to ask, my question is, what's the difference between applying as an individual and as a team? Is there going to be like one being better than another?
No, it's very simply that we invite applications from individuals, but also if there are a collective of people who would like to, who are working on the same vision or project, that we allow them to apply. For teams up to 5 people to apply for the fellowship. I hope that answers your question, Zainab.
Yeah, I just want to know, if I don't have a team, is that okay? Or I should try to get a team?
No, absolutely. Applications welcome from individuals or teams. So we would absolutely love you to apply.
Thank you. Thank
you. There's a question in the chat box that Katie's flagged and would like to hear the judges or fellows think of this. So Barwa on originality, when so many of us are shaped by shared lived experience and dream similar dreams, how do we define originality? Can it still be original if it stems from collective memory or struggle, or is it in how we uniquely express a shared truth? That's a lovely question.
I can maybe jump in here, Sarah, on this. That's a wonderful question. And I think it's it could also be a sort of an hour-long philosophical lecture, I think, how do you define originality? But I think a couple things, right? The core of it is about your experience as well. So you might be looking at a policy that has worked in another country, but the original aspect that you bring is, like, does this work in my local context? So that could be originality. It could also be a project that you're already involved in as part of your position currently, but what are your original ideas that you're bringing to it? It's also, in the end, it's kind of your self-expression in the work that you're doing and the way that you're interpreting futures and foresight. So I think we should probably have more of the UN, for example, understand that we're all in a shared collective future and shared reality, even though we have kind of original thoughts and processes involved in that. But I do think it is about your self-expression in the idea as well.
Thank you so much, Nutara. As we're entering the final minutes, does anybody have one more question? I think we have time for. There's two. Pak, would you like to ask your question, please?
Hi. So I'm basically coming from Malaysia, so I'm not exactly doing social science, so I'm a physicist. So I would just like to ask, like, because in the registration form, there is a slot for the referees. So I was wondering if, let's say, I have someone which is not working in Foresight to be my referee for this particular application. So would that be okay?
That would be absolutely fine.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. One more from Ashley, please, and then we'll move to close.
Hello, thank you so much for this informative session. I really appreciate. I also didn't know, sorry, the distinction between the two fellowships. So I am originally from Texas, but I reside and based in Madrid, and I'll be getting my master's next year in sustainability. But my questions are kind of twofold. So I'm wondering if, so is it a separate application? I guess I'm trying to understand, are they two different fellowships? Because I saw that, no, okay. So, and then I guess the other question is, me and another organizer, we do like community sit-ins of like climate, like open spaces for BIPOC folk here. And if we organize together, but she does not want to be a part of the fellowship, like, is it okay if it's just one person, but it ends up being a group thing? Or I guess I want to get some clarification on that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely fine for you to work with the silent partner and then bring their voice into it later on if they so wish. And then in terms of the distinction between the fellowships, there is only one fellowship, but there is opportunity to align your application with one of our Foresight Transformation Missions, of which democracy and sustainable development is one of them. So we can share that again, but climate, peace building, intergenerational fairness, future methods from around the world. These are all Foresight transmissions that you can align an application with. But if you don't align with any of the Foresight Transformation Missions, you can submit a general application. So it's still one fellowship, but holding many umbrellas.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. We have come to the end of our time together. But I just wanted to share the timeline that the applications close on the 31st of July, and then we move to judging between August and September, and then we will celebrate and announce our fellows in November. What I wanted to say, and I'll take this slide off because what is really important is the people in the room. It's you are the reason that this community of next generation Foresight practitioners is so transformational and impactful. So I really want to just thank you for spending a moment with us to hear about the mission of the next generation Foresight practitioners. And I would strongly encourage you to apply. And if you are in any way hesitant, please reach out to Katie and I, and we will do our best to support you through this and welcome you with open arms to our network. So just thank you so much. Thank you to John and Peter for your wonderful, wonderful legacy that you're handing over. We are eternally grateful for Kat, Nidhara, Nancy, and Dinara, and Claudette and Deanna for bringing your wonderful voices to this room. But thank you all so much for joining us, and I'm wishing you a good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.